All right. Well, hello, everyone. I wanted to go over some very important information on the SARS-CoV-2 drug vaccines by taking a microscopic examination of really what the Pfizer vaccine does when it comes into contact with red blood cells or a person's blood, and the concerns that I've had with these. The investigation that you're going to see was a combined project between Dr. Kevin McCarran, PhD, neurobiologist in Japan, originally from the UK, and myself. And we did this in the last several days, actually. One of the slides that I like to share with people is that the difference between a PhD, MD, JD is that PhDs actually figure out problems while MDs treat them, and JDs typically cause them. And this presentation, we believe, will have all three effects. For the last 22 months, there has been a huge amount of misinformation, so much that it's phenomenal how much misinformation versus real information has gotten out there, including people who've said that the virus isn't real and hasn't been isolated, to people confusing virus SARS-CoV-2 with the disease COVID-19, to misinformation about PCR testing and misinformation about masking, to confusion between the use of terms like cytokine storm versus inflammothrombotic response, which is what's really going on, to people being told to take certain drugs that there's absolutely no proof that they work, while other people are being told that other medications that do work can't be provided. All the way from there to doctors not treating symptomatic patients until it's too late, to physicians using the ventilators incorrectly, to doctors being threatened if they actually try to treat patients with loss of their license or legal actions, to the promotion of vaccines that the emergency use authorization documents actually show do not statistically lower the incidence of COVID or deaths, to a failure to provide informed consent for people receiving the vaccines, to individuals overstepping their constitutional legal authority, including mandates, to blaming the unvaccinated for the promulgation of vaccines, to actually people claiming there are things in the vaccines that simply aren't there. And so it's this latter one that we really want to look at today, because there is so much misinformation about what's in the vaccines, all the way from the pictures at the upper left-hand corner that talk about graphene oxide, and to the right of that, little creatures. The video here that we won't play at this point in time is from Dr. Zalewski, Zalewski, who was giving a presentation explaining that he had found the eggs of these creatures, and they're three-legged creatures. A lot of misinformation is simply and has done nothing to add to the scientific discussion and the important discussion about what's in these vaccines. I've been concerned about the vaccines themselves, and so you can see here that I sent Dr. Bourla on the 30th of January the first request for Pfizer information on the emergency use authorization documents. I submitted 3 of these to Pfizer and have received no response given the concerns. And you can see that we were talking about antibody-dependent enhancement and potential for the gene therapy interactions, and knowledge that the lipid nanoparticles actually cross the blood-brain barrier, and all of the concerns that we had. This document has not been responded to by Pfizer. You'll see that the same thing occurred for the Moderna vaccine, that also on the 30th of January I submitted requests, and we followed this up for a total of 3 with no response from Pfizer or Moderna. The problem for all of us is that we've been depending upon the FDA. The Food and Drug Administration has reviewed these vaccines and issued emergency use authorization documents. And while there's a lot of material here under this mission statement, the key point is that the FDA is responsible for protecting the public health and ensuring the safety of these medical products. If you also look, unfortunately, at what happens with many people in the FDA, you can see that Scott Gottlieb and Stephen Hahn have actually now acquired jobs at Pfizer and Moderna, and they were former FDA heads. You can also tell that mainstream media with Mr. Smith from Reuters now has a job at Pfizer, and it's anybody's guess right now where Dr. Fauci is planning to be employed in the future, although given the recent information that shows that he did commit perjury when he was being deposed by Senator Dr. Rand Paul regarding gain-of-function research at NIH and NIAID, he might be looking for a new job in the near future, and he might have one in China. The failure for any of these vaccine companies to respond resulted in me submitting a letter to Janet Woodcock, who is the head of the FDA, acting commissioner. This document actually shows that myself and several colleagues, as you can see here on the bottom right, submitted a letter requesting from Dr. Woodcock information and a cessation of the vaccines until some of our concerns could be taken care of. You'll see on the very bottom left